Welcome to the JB Soul Show. This is JB.
Oh yeah, what's going on? So, I want you to think back to when you were in public school. Did you learn about American history? I'm sure you learned about what you thought was American history, but I'm not sure you learned about actual American history. See, actual American history is not one of evil men terrorizing populations. It's not one of selfishness. It's not a bad history. And yes, there's good, bad, and ugly like there is to everything. But American history, well, it should not make you ashamed to be American. It should actually make you proud to be an American. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because it is, well, when we're recording this, it's around 4th of July. And, well, the mainstream media never ceases to use 4th of July as an excuse to hate all over American history, which is not that bad, all things considered. And America has been certainly a positive force in the world. So what I want to explain today is why you should be proud to be an American, no matter your race, no matter your gender. Okay? Let's start off with this. What is the most common complaint against America? Producer Brooke, what's the most common complaint against America?
America's racist.
And why is that?
Because we had slavery?
Yeah. Now, obviously, slavery, happened. It was atrocious, horrible. We shouldn't forget it. No one's saying that. I don't want us to forget any of our history, the good or the bad. That being said, first of all, there are a few countries which have done more to abolish slavery, not just in their native land, but in the rest of the world than America. America was one of the first countries to abolish slavery. Yeah, you had a couple that officially did before, like Mexico and Britain, but it pretty much still existed. In Mexico, you could lease someone for 99 years, which sounds kind of like slavery. In England, they ended slavery in the 1830s, but actually the British Empire never ended slavery. In Russia, you had the freeing of the serfs in 1851, but you didn't really, because they were still, it didn't help them very much. So, really, America was one of, if not the first country to truly outlaw slavery. We have to think about that. And we also have to think about that there have been many, many, many blacks who helped America, who helped found America in the Revolutionary Wars. There were a number of black heroes, brave men, who fought in the Revolutionary War. The first double agent, a guy named James Armistead. And he helped America win the Battle of Yorktown. He was a slave, he was freed. There were a number of other ones. There was Salem Poor, who helped win at Bunker Hill, and many, many others who had paintings done to them. It was actually what made George Washington against slavery, because he saw how blacks fought, and many of them were in fact freed. Many were freed, and many were able to live out the American dream. And what we have today is we have this southern view on race relations in American history, where it was all the bad, all the ugly. We get none of the good from the North, where there was at least under the law in New England and such, there was equality for everyone pretty much, except maybe for women, but we'll get to that in a minute. But there was equality, and then when you get to the Civil War, you had a lot of blacks fighting for the Union. I think like 10% of the army was black. And then World War I, you have people like Henry Johnson, probably the best fighter in all of World War I, who helped the Allies win, whether or not the Allies were the right side or not, we helped end the most deadly war in all of history, going on to World War II. Obviously, you're getting into the more modern time. My point is that blacks have done a lot for America, and we have been we were one of the first countries, if not the first, to truly outlaw slavery. Maybe not officially, but truly get rid of it. And there was no other nation really that fought a civil war as bloody as we did to end slavery. We fought it to end. The North was fighting largely to end slavery. The South was largely fighting for slavery. There were some maybe among the average people, there were maybe some other issues that were important. But overall, the largest issue in the Civil War, contrary to what some people will say, was slavery. So we fought to end it for 5 years, bloody war, 4 years actually, bloody war, bloodiest war in American history. We fought to end it. And I think that's something we should be proud of, because slavery, obviously a moral, evil, horrific institution, and we fought to end it. And today, we are one of the most equal, racially diverse countries in the world. And I know that reading the media, you won't see that, but it's the truth. We're not perfect at all. No one's saying that. We're not perfect. We never were, and we probably never will be. But you know what? The Founding Fathers never intended for America to be perfect. What does it say in the Declaration of Independence? A more perfect union. Not a perfect union, a more perfect union. The intention was never to have a great utopia, like with so many other countries, like, say, Prussia and, Germany's days. A wonderful country, sure.
You can have a great country without going so far as to try to make it a utopia.
Right. And utopias never work. They backfire all the time.
Exactly.
But you won't learn that in school. You will not learn in school about all the great Black Americans, the many great ones. Now you learn about a couple. This is interesting here, and this is kind of like the Woodrow Wilson kind of socialist Darwinism, where there's very, very, very few great Black people in history, which there are many. There's many. That's what I'm trying to say here. But I've narrowed it down to, there's 5 people we talk about in school. 5 people. You have Martin Luther King Jr., you have Rosa Parks, Jackie Robinson, Harriet Tubman, and Frederick Douglass. All good people. No one's saying that it's not the case. But there's more to it. Like I said, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. They were fighting the bad and the ugly, but there were so many others that were aiding in the good. I mean, they all did too, but you know what I mean. It's aiding in America, helping America become a legitimately better place. Now, Frederick Douglass is kind of interesting because he doesn't really go with the narrative, because he was actually talking about, we need to make blacks read, have them learn how to read, which, we don't really do today in school. But the other ones, I mean, they all fit the narrative better, and they're all great people. Like I said, nobody's saying they're not great people, but it's not the full story. We need to learn the full story. School will never tell you the full story. They don't want to tell you the full story. All right, I'll probably spend too long on that. But anyway, let's move on to women. Now, this is a little more clear cut, but even so, America today, one of the most equal countries in the world for men and women, complete equality of opportunity, pretty much. Whereas if you look at some, say, Islamic, African, Asian countries, not so much. But in history, women always did play a role in America. Let's make no mistake here. I mean, they willfully became nurses in the Revolutionary War, Civil War. The best-selling book in the 20th and the 19th century was written by women, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Let's say one of the first ever feminists, Annie Oakley. You've probably never heard of her. She was an avid shooter. She was in literally the man's world of shooting, right? That's a pretty male-dominated field. Annie Oakley, she was one of, if not the best, sharpshooters in the entire country in the 1800s. Was widely respected.
Now that would have actually been something cool to learn about in school.
It would have, wouldn't it have? It really would have. And then you have giving the women the right to vote in 1920, which was one of the first things. Saudi Arabia did that 7 years ago. I mean, that's not good at all, really. So, we've always been a very, I don't want to say progressive, because that word doesn't mean what it really should mean, but we really always have been a very liberal country in that sense, in the racial sense. Fighting to outlaw slavery all over the world, and in America, fighting for women's rights and encouraging them in the rest of the world. And in school today, but we don't learn any of that in school today. We don't learn any of that good. And there's a lot of good. There's a lot of bad, too. But America has been a net good. And, the Founding Fathers were almost to a man against slavery. Most of them hated slavery. Jefferson fought against slavery for 60 years, right? And in the first 4 drafts of the Declaration of Independence, they actually did abolish. They basically implied that they were going to abolish slavery. In the first 4 drafts of the Declaration of Independence, you don't hear anyone talk about that. But they had kind of an impossible decision, because you were either going to outlaw slavery and have 2 United States of Americas, or you were not going to outlaw slavery, and you would have your own country. That was the dilemma they had, and they went with, I think, what almost anyone would have went with, which was just to bite the bullet, because they assumed slavery was going to die out pretty soon. But anyway, you're not taught any of this in school today. That's the thing. We are so uneducated today on our history. We believe see only the bad, see only the ugly. We don't see any of the good, and there's so much good if you actually look at history objectively in American history.
I mean, schools can tell the truth without telling the full truth, and that's a dangerous thing.
Right. It's not so much what they tell as much as it is what they don't tell. That's really what's key. And there have been a lot of great blacks, great women who didn't necessarily fight for women's and blacks' rights. There's nothing wrong with doing, like I've said. I admire Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King Jr. and all those people, but it's different. It's what a lot of these other guys did was different, because it doesn't fit the narrative, so we can't talk about it today. But that's what I wanted to talk about, because there's been great everybody, and not just blacks, of course. There's been great Asians, great Hispanics. I just wanted to focus on blacks today, and women. All right, I think that's gonna be about it. Happy late 4th of July. You want to say something?
Yes, I do. Last episode, sorry for having no visuals. This episode's gonna have minimal visuals.
We'll see.
If at all. We're gonna keep with the one main video a week, but we're gonna introduce a new series.
Yeah.
You want to explain that?
Yeah, it'll be more like us just kind of talking, and if you really want to learn about the school system, because I'm gonna need more time to talk about certain things.
It's gonna go into detail. It's gonna be 15 to 20 minutes.
Mostly for the Spotify, SoundCloud, that sort of thing. Not so much for YouTube, but it'll be on there.
Visuals will be coming back soon. But I have bad computer, so.
Yeah, it sucks a lot. Anyway, if you have any questions, you can email me, jvsocial@gmail.com, or ask a question on the Twitter. Please do like and subscribe. I cannot tell you how much I'd appreciate that if you're on YouTube, or you can check the podcast out on the actual podcast networks if you're watching there. I think that's about it. So, next time, I've been your host, JV.
And I've been producer Rook.
And we are signing off.